Okay, you party animals, you better behave yourself during the Super Bowl weekend, especially you seniors, because here's some stats for you that are kind of crazy about Super Bowl weekend or the whole Super Bowl game as a whole, and seniors, as far as it can be a dangerous time. Okay, I don't know about you guys. I mean, unless you're a fan of Seattle or New England this year, to me, it's the most boring Super Bowl ever. I don't really care. I don't even know if I'm going to watch the game. You know, usually I at least watch the game, although I'm a much bigger college football fan than I am of NFL. NFL just seems so corporate to me. And try going to an NFL game. Okay, you're sitting next to like a 55-year-old, 6'2", 350-pound guy who's on the verge of puking on you from all the beer he drank. Okay, not like college, where you got the student section, you got the cheerleaders, you got just a whole collegiate energy to the whole thing. Anyway, that's just me. I love college football much more than the NFL. So here you go. Here's some crazy stats for you regarding how the Super Bowl can be dangerous to seniors, and not just seniors. I'll get into those as other stats as well. So here's number one for you. A Tulane University study that spanned the years of 1974 to 2002 says there's an 18% correlation between Super Bowl weekend and flu-related deaths of those 65 and over for those who live in the county of one of the teams playing in the Super Bowl. 18% increase in flu-related deaths for older individuals. Do they say six? Yeah, 65 plus. For the people that are in the counties of either one of the teams playing in the Super Bowl. Why? Super Bowl parties, right? If you've got a team, a home team playing in the Super Bowl, yeah, you're going to have tons of Super Bowl parties at bars, at people's houses, wherever, right? Strip clubs. So yeah, there's a lot more chances you're going to catch something, okay? And as you know, the older we get, the more susceptible we are to something like the flu. Something that wouldn't even harm you when you're 20 years old can actually be a fatal proposition later in life, depending on how your immune system is. Kind of crazy, right? I'd never heard that before, but it makes sense. You're attending a party with 15 people, go home, catch the flu, you're 82 years old, 2 weeks later you're gone. Yikes. Here's another stat for you. A study in clinical cardiology, very shishi, shows a loss for a home team in the Super Bowl can be a 22% increase in circulatory death for older people. Okay, so if your home team, if your favorite team, if you were a Buffalo Bills fan, think about that, those 4 straight losses they had in the Super Bowl years ago. There was a 22% increase in circulatory death. Why? Emotional stress. Okay, think about it, especially if you're retired. Do you have that much stress during the day? On an average basis, or in the week, or in the month, or in the year, for that matter. Hey, you get all hyped up and you had like a 6-pack or like 12 hot toddies when you're watching the Super Bowl and your team loses. Yeah, those next couple of days, you never know what can happen, right? Especially if you had pre-existing symptoms. Also, that same study, there is a 27%, now this is not just older people, this is a 27% increase in circulatory death for women in general. Okay, that's kind of a strange stat if you ask me. I mean, yes, a lot of women watch the Super Bowl, but are they going to be as emotionally invested as most men are? I'd say in most cases, no, but not always. Hey, I've known some women over the years that are they're huge sports fans. 27% increase for women in general. That's crazy. And 15% overall increase in circulatory death for the overall population after a loss of a home team. Okay, that's pretty significant. All right. Hey, for those of you who see me for the first time, this is a channel for optimizing a moderate income retirement. If that's something you think you might like, think about subscribing and like the video too. And if you really like it, down here are 2 other ways you can support this channel. Here's the next stat for you. Okay, this one is funny. All right, well, it wasn't funny for her, but I read this and I literally laughed out loud. A 73-year-old woman suffered a deep laceration in 2003 during a pickup football game on Super Bowl Sunday. 73-year-old women. All right, you older women out there, man, rein in your horses. A pickup football game? It doesn't say how old the other participants were, but she got a deep laceration and had to go to the hospital and get stitches for it. No more football playing when you're over 65, all right? Here's another stat from another survey. When the LA Rams, lost the 1980 Super Bowl, the rate of cardiac arrests increased significantly for 14 days after the Super Bowl. All right? Same thing, your emotions are running high. And for those of you with pre-existing conditions, I mean, what? So you're not supposed to watch the Super Bowl or watch like the World Cup if your favorite soccer team was playing, right? Or excuse me, football team was playing, for those of you overseas. What are you supposed to do? Just not watch it? No. I mean, just keep your emotions in check, I guess. But that's the thing, guys, if you're a diehard fan of any sports team, how hard is it to keep your emotions in check, right? When your team, not so much winning, but especially losing. That's the correlation here in all of this. As you'll see in the next stat I get to, when teams lose, it affects people more in a physical way, especially here when we're talking about cardiac arrests. Okay, when they win, yeah, not so much. Here's the next stat, what I was just talking about. When the Raiders won the 1984 Super Bowl, for the next 14 days, cardiac arrests were significantly lower in I guess it was back then, was it LA or Oakland? I can't remember. Should have written it down. In whatever city it was that the Raiders were in at the time. Significantly lower cardiac arrests because they won the Super Bowl. Okay, there you go. There's your correlation, right? You lose. Hey, when my gutty little UCLA Bruins lose in a football game, yes, I am more affected than if they win. If they win, I'm going crazy for like a day, maybe two. If they lose, man, it seems like I'm affected for the next week. So just keep your emotions in check if you can. Now, obviously, we have to talk about deaths from drunk driving. Okay, this doesn't have to do with older people at all, but this is just in general. I mean, you talk about the increase in drunk driving in general, but drunk driving fatalities during and after the Super Bowl, especially that weekend, it's off the charts. I won't even get into the stats because you guys already know about that, I'm sure. But here's some other stats that are kind of funny in a way. TV-related injuries. What are these? These could be punching the TV and or moving a TV go up in a huge way on Super Bowl weekend. Okay, think about it, man. I'm sure you've had some friends like that. They go to extremes. I've never seen anyone punch a TV, but you may have. Leave me comments on that. But you know what's funny about this? Well, it makes sense. They say that the injuries from moving a TV are significantly lower now since the advent of flat screen TVs. Why? Think about those behemoths. Is that how you pronounce it? Behemoths. Think about those monsters, those tube TVs we used to have, right? Until the last, say 20 years. Try moving one of those huge things, man. Depending on the size, it could have been 100 plus pounds. People got more injuries back then moving TVs than they do now with what is it, half an inch wide flat screens. I thought that was interesting, kind of funny too. Kitchen-related injuries. What are these? Burns, cuts, and falls by working in the kitchen. Super Bowl day is the highest next to Thanksgiving Day when it comes to kitchen-related injuries. So nothing to do with older individuals here, but just in general. So you people preparing your stuff, man, after half a bottle of Jack Daniels, be careful with the sharp implements, all right? And finally, playing football before or after Super Bowl game, injuries are through the roof as opposed to any other day during the year. And sadly to say, for that 73-year-old woman that I talked about earlier, that tells you right there, man. Yeah, I mean, I remember we used to play pickup games. I think it was most of the time before Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is usually in the mid-afternoon. Yeah, we would do pickup football games all the time when I was growing up. I never got injured, but yeah, some of my friends got not serious injuries, but yeah, they got beat up pretty bad. So there you go, guys. You zany older adults, be careful during the Super Bowl, okay? And the day leading up to it. Don't drink too much. Have a couple nips, have a couple little wee nips, but don't go crazy and keep your emotions in check. And as always, from the lovely high desert, we got this.